Imagine you didn't have breakfast this morning. How would that make you feel?
Hello, Sage. This is Cody. Or how? Wait a minute.
Oh, oh yeah, 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 oh yeah, 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 oh yeah, oh yeah, 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 check it out. Hear the echo in the night sky, with stars and headlights entwine. Tales of diesel and determination, living life beyond the white line.
There's a stretch where silence roars, sirens hum a solemn tune. Every journey writes a saga in the glow of the highway moon.
Sage outcast portraits, where the big lows, big roads meet.
Talking miles,
talking metal,
every ridge,
every ride,
every week.
Sage outcast portraits,
From the yard to the last white line.
if it's trucking and bone,
Deep hustle,
tune into that state of mind. Keep the vibe
burning bright,
while the world
raise the night,
through the miles,
to the time,
we ride on.
in the endless climb. In the endless climb. In the endless
Sage. I'm sorry. Please don't record this.
All right. Boop. Back. I am back. Is this all working? It's all working. I have my glasses on. Getting older. I'm at the point now where I need contacts and glasses. I can't see far away without my contacts, and I can't see up close without my glasses. That's how old I am. So, age that. All right, we are back. I did not do a show. I wasn't feeling the best yesterday. So I did not do a show yesterday. Let me check something real quick. That's all better. So I'm going to do one today and kind of talk about some of the stuff that's going on and talk about a couple of topics I thought were kind of necessary to talk about if you're in trucking or logistics and stuff like that also. And then if you're not in trucking logistics and you're just kind of saying, hey, what the hell's going on in the world? I'm kind of talking about that type of stuff also. Here's also twice. Let's get the party started here. Okay, there it is.
Hey,
What?
you are not Kevin Costner.
Very true. I am not Kevin Costner. This is Sage from the Sage Outcast Show. Here's what we do. We talk about kind of news, current events, geopolitics, logistics, trucking, business, insurance, freight brokering, all kinds of stuff. Also, it's a call-in show, which the phone number's on the screen. I did not turn the phone on yet, so give me a minute. But that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what we do here. Let me do this real quick here. I'm out of the algos because I'm sporadic in my videos. And that's kind of okay. Plus, I got a couple, not reds, but yellows, which always kind of punish me. But that's fine also. All right, I'm going to kind of jump in to cover some of the stuff going on. So, there's no story time with Sage. I didn't have any anything in particular really didn't happen to me, to be completely honest. Discord, we've been in the Discord hanging out there. But that's pretty much, but besides that, it's been fairly slow. Let me click on this over here because I'm going to be bringing this over. We're going to talk about this. Okay. First thing we're going to talk about, oil prices are still high. They're still up there in the $90 a barrel type situation. We're going to kind of cover a little bit of that. So I don't really know. We have not really a fan of the show. To be honest, I'd like to be able to bring him on, but I doubt being able to bring him on because, actually, let me do it down here. What time is it now? It's 8:15, Truck Diver. Are you on the phone? Exactly. All right. We have basically, well, one of the people in the Discord has a friend named Steve. That's all we can give out right now. A friend named Steve is a big MAGA supporter and big Donald Trump supporter. And no matter, and right now, I'd love to get him on to ask him some questions just in a polite way because it's wild, some of the stuff they believe. So here's one of the things I did. Actually, let me do this real quick before I get started. Oh, I would like to officially demand an apology from TC Boggs. I'm demanding an apology from TC Boggs. So if any of you can go to at TC Boggs on YouTube and say Sage is demanding an apology because I have had to correct all of his mistakes and it's getting kind of old. So I'm officially demanding an apology. All right, let me do this real quick here. I put this post out both on YouTube and on LinkedIn. And I'm over there on LinkedIn also, all right? So if you guys are watching me on LinkedIn, how's it going there, LinkedIn? Also, if you're watching me on LinkedIn, if you're interested in being on the show or you got something you want to talk about in a logistic aspect, reach out to me, brother. I'll bring you in. I'll bring you guys on. I'm kind of an open channel to let people come on and things like that. I put this picture out right here. Let me zoom in on that. See, nope, that's not what I want to zoom in. I want to zoom in on this. So this is a little bit of story time with Sage. Story time with Sage, changed my mind. I put this out, right? And on LinkedIn, it says, I can prove I'm in logistics. I have a solution. And the solution was this picture here. Now, I didn't make this picture. I will admit that. I don't remember who did. So I basically said, oh, this is great. Little ship on this side. We can have a little truck shipping the oil from this side of the strait to this side of the strait and then stick it on another ship and we can X out the straits right there. Big X right there. Pretty simple. Kind of did it with crayons. And, stuff like that. Just a simple Crayola solution. Logistical Crayola solution. If that's a thing. I cannot believe how many people thought I was serious about this because the comment section here is like, this was real. Maybe I should have used stick figures, right? To show that it was a joke. Sage, don't you do logistics? Wouldn't the docking and unloading to be a cost added to the oil? Well, I'll be honest with you. It's way cheaper than having your ship blown up. But let's pretend this was a real solution. And the people on LinkedIn, they kind of got it, I think. The people on LinkedIn got the joke because logistical people, all we see is trucking or logistics. We don't see any solution. If it ain't, but the people on YouTube, I was like, wait, what? You thought I was serious? I mean, this person was, wouldn't that be more? I mean, wouldn't it be a risk to the drivers being targeted? I have questions. Not a very good solution, and it being urine shipping. Let's move on. Yeah, that's efficient. You couldn't use trains, or you could use trains, but what would stop the attack? Oh, I'm like, why are you going into... I know you have zero clue how much oil is actually passing through there. The fact that the ship has still not gone through the strait, and the fact that even if there was a dock infrastructure to handle... I swear to God. I mean, you know what the funny part is? Most of the people that are attacking me are... Well, what this one says, what, MAGA? MAGA something? Most of the people, I'm thinking to myself, holy crap, this is done with crayons. It's done with crayons. And you guys think this was a serious solution? I don't know. You guys tell me. Am I nuts? I think I'm crazy. Anyways, I did it over on LinkedIn too. And LinkedIn, I got like 30 or 40,000 views over on LinkedIn. And they were, most of those people, and there's like 36 comments. Most of those people were laughing. And making other comments and stuff like that over on LinkedIn. But YouTube thought I was serious with this bad boy. They thought this crayon logistical approach to solving the oil crisis was real. And you guys wonder why sometimes I don't do shows. Okay, let us move on. But yeah, so that was, so if you're watching this now, this was a joke. That's why we did it in Crayon. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to what's actually going on here in the world of oil. All right, a couple things are going on. One of the things, obviously, is oil still ain't moving. Now, it's not just the insurance that's not moving this way. It's also now because more and more ships are being blown up. So there's kind of a fear. So for the administration just came out now and basically said, hey, yeah, we're going to start escorting some of these ships through the strait. They weren't doing it before. I know they said they did. I know a lot of people are like, yeah, he said they were on their way. They weren't. And we really don't have enough ships to escort them through the straits. I know France is coming in, but I think France is going to escort their ships. I know Norway and stuff have basically said, yeah, we're not going there. We're not even sending some of our ships. So now we're basically starting to get ships just saying, we're not going. Doesn't matter if we have insurance. We've already had some loss of life in regards to some strikes. So we're just not sending our ships through it. We're not going to lose a ship, no matter, even if insurance will pay for it. We're just not doing it. We're just not doing it. And now we're in a worse situation. Because when ships basically say, yeah, we're just not going because it's too dangerous, now what? Now, and again, I still have my solution, remember, with the crayons? But, we'll talk about that later. So, yeah, that's kind of an issue. Now, I did talk about some of the, do I still have this? I do have this. Let me see if I can get this opened up. There is a lot of other stuff that's happening in regards to this. So you're going to have things like fuel surcharges because of the price of fuel. Why is this maximized? Can I not maximize that? Because of the price of fuel, you're going to get things like fuel surcharges. So fuel is starting to become so expensive, diesel fuel for ships, that ships are going to start adding on a fuel surcharge even to container ships. So container ships might start saying it's about $200 per foot. So figure $2,000 for a 20-foot can and $4,000 for a 40-foot container. You're going to start to see that. This was actually came out March 10th, and this is actually pretty good in regards to all of the issues that we're going to be having with the straits. This is something that disruptions that the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development put out. So this is kind of talking about a lot of aspects of what goes through there, everything from crude oil to LNG, fertilizers, urea, which is a fertilizer and also used in DEF fluid, and trucks use that for their stupid EPA systems. So there's a lot of information in here, but yeah, so we'll move on there, because I have some videos anyways. So that's kind of some of the issues that we're still running into. So now we got a couple things. Obviously, Russia's making out like a bandit, but our oil prices, I don't see our oil prices coming down anytime soon. Now, Steve, who's not on the show currently, he thinks it's coming down tomorrow, and we're going to be good to go by tomorrow, or maybe the next day. But I don't see it coming down anytime soon. All right. I wanted to go into... hang on. Let me do this. I want to talk a little bit about fertilizers. So here's what's going on. Supply and demand fertilizer situations. A lot of urea comes out of that area for us and for other places in other countries. So just because you're not getting the urea coming out of there, and people have to realize that a lot of these goods are based on supply and demand. So even though products might not be coming to the United States from that area, it's still going to put a strain on the other countries who needed it from there, who now are going to basically, raise the price over here too. All right.
Matt McKenzie is off today, so I'm going to be the newsman. We're going to start off with fertilizer companies.
Also
CF Industries shares hit a record high on Thursday. Shares rose as much as 14% intraday, the company's biggest one-day gain since 2020. CF, which is based in Illinois, controls as much as 40% of the North American nitrogen fertilizer market. Profit margins for the company have likely improved drastically. CF uses cheap North American natural gas to produce many of their nitrogen products. Meanwhile, the selling price of their products has risen sharply during the last couple of weeks. Most of CF's global competitors are facing much higher natural gas costs or supply disruptions. Speculative buying is also at play. Nutrien, another fertilizer manufacturer, controls about 22% of the North American nitrogen fertilizer market. Its shares rose nearly 8% on Thursday. Matt, there appears to be some sort of disconnect here. CF Industries, Nutrien raking in the profits. The farmer, their customer, not doing as well.
Yeah, not even close. And I think even before this, Joe, as the grower definitely was in a spot, even with 450 corn, on the board. So the 450 corn, and you look at the kind of fertilizer prices we've seen, inputs have risen, and clearly fertilizer is one of those that's pretty reactive to any sort of rally in the corn market. And so I know that this is kind of salt in the wound of the grower that CF Industries profit margins have skyrocketed like this, or share price has gone up. And as you suggest, likely profit margin have skyrocketed. It's pretty tough whenever, your typical grower, whenever you look just at university data, obviously 3 straight years not doing well, and so a lot of that is due to input costs, which rose so much after 21 and 22, which quite frankly were fantastic years. So there's a major disconnect, has been for quite some time. Supposedly there was going to be some sort of looking into this type situation, but whether anything comes of that, who knows.
CF Industry shares are up 76% year to date, which is incredible. There is some nuance to this situation. So they are a nitrogen fertilizer manufacturer, but there are different types of nitrogen fertilizer. When you look at the breakdown of CF's revenue by product, ammonia is 32 to 33%, UAN is like 32%, granular urea is 30%, and then ammonium nitrate 7 to 8%. 3 out of those 4 products, ammonia, UAN, and ammonium nitrate, they make in the United States using, as I mentioned, cheap North American natural gas. The granular urea is what's mainly imported, like 70% of what we use in the US is imported, and that's the price that is spiked. But I would imagine that on their other products that they're making at home, prices of those are probably up as well, and the profit margins there are just probably off the charts.
Yeah, so basically what's going on, because of the war in Iran with the Straits, urea is up. And because urea is up and urea is harder to get, all fertilizer is getting more expensive. Now, when all fertilizer starts to get more expensive, that would be the cost of food, which might not be so good, right? You know what I'm saying? Like the cost of food and things like that. That goes up. Again, another thing to think of in regards to the conflict that we're dealing with over in Iran. I don't know. All right. I wanted to play that just so you guys kind of also think about that. It's not just the oil that's a problem. We're now looking at fertilizer. Well, farmers are looking at fertilizer. And when farmers are looking at the price of fertilizer, that means the price of food. Now, that either means that the price of food has to go up, also because of the shipping and the trucking and the diesel for shipping it. Or farmers just go out of business, which then is not good either. Either way, it's not a good thing. Not a good thing. All right.
2026 edition of What's Going On with Shipping. Shipping is a fire. I'm your host, Sal Mercogliano. Welcome to this episode. So I am a bit distraught, I'm not going to lie, with the report I'm about to give you. Things are not good. I mean,
now this is Sal. He's What's Going On in Shipping. If you're seeing this on LinkedIn, most of the stuff I'm playing now, a lot of LinkedIn people, I'm hoping you guys are checking this out, because you might not see this all the time because he's not on LinkedIn per se.
I have not been this discouraged towards shipping in a long time. This video you see here was released of a unmanned surface vessel attack on 2 tankers at anchor off of Kuwait and Iraq. One of the tankers there is American-owned. The other one that is nested up alongside is Greek-owned. What you're seeing here is probably naphtha igniting and burning, and you're seeing from these vessels heading away probably the ships that were involved in executing the attack and bringing the drone or whatever type craft or mine was used to put up against the side of the vessel and initiate the attack. So a bad day in the Persian Gulf. This comes on top of the previous day where we had an attack on a Thai bulker that has led to 3 crew members going missing. All bad, all terrible. And then what we're seeing right now is literally panic. I don't know what to say here in terms of the administration scrambling, trying to come up with some sort of policy to deal with the absolute cork in the bottle that has now happened with shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. I get to hear from people on ships and get to hear from ship owners. And what they want is some sort of direction from the United States. What is happening and when can they get their ships moving? Where's going to be security? What are we going to do it? It has been absolutely a discouraging 24 hours here at what's going on with shipping, but we're going to try to overcome that and talk about what you need to know about shipping. If you're new to the channel, hey, take a moment, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so be alerted about new videos as they come out. So this is a story from Reuters. Explosive sea drones emerge as a new threat to tankers in the Gulf attacks. All right, first off, these are not new threats. I mean, we have seen these used by the Ukrainians in the Black Sea. We've seen them used by the Houthi in the Red Sea. There should be no surprise that they're using these level of attacks here. Naval drones have been used in at least 2 attacks on oil tankers in the Gulf since war erupted between the US, Israel, and Iran. The emergence of the use of explosive-laden unmanned surface vessels, which Ukraine had used with great effect in the war with Russia, comes as Iran threatens to block oil shipments from transiting the key Strait of Hormuz. We won't know that because there's been no oil movement through the Strait of Hormuz because everybody has locked in place because first we had the insurance issue, which has been resolved largely. The second now is a security issue.
True. So the insurance thing is they're like, yeah, we'll finally get the insurance thing under control. But then they're like,
which is on the onus of the United States to demonstrate that the area is clear. Again, I am not in favor of the U.S. being the policeman of the world, but the U.S. instigated the attack, and they bear some responsibility here to ensure that shipping is able to flow. I've used this analogy and I'll use it one more time here. If you look at the world ocean shipping system, it's like the circulatory system of the human body. We have pinched off the femoral artery of one of our legs, and you have a finite amount of time before you've got to get blood flowing again, or else you're going to cause permanent damage, or you may kill the system, but more than likely what you're going to wind up doing is hacking it off, and now you're crippled. That's the situation we find ourselves in. This story goes on. The first sea-based drone attack was on March 1st when a crude oil tanker, the MKD Viam, was hit about 44 miles off Oman. That resulted in the death of a crew member. And again, we have known that this style of attack is out there. And again, these should be able to be guarded against fairly easily. Helicopters, small boats, patrols should be able to spot these things and be able to eliminate them. But right now, the U.S. military is focused on offensive operations and not defensive operations because, in truth, they don't have enough forces in place to do both. So if you want to understand about uncrewed explosive boats, the guy you go to is H.I. Sutton over at Covert Shores. I'll have the link to this. I'm going to try to get H.I. to come on the channel and talk about this. He is the master of knowing this. He's got a great webpage here that gives you all the details on this. Next, we have the latest from the Joint Maritime Information Center under the UK Maritime Trade Operations and the US Central Command. Again, I'm just going to highlight some of the key areas. Number one, we are still at a critical level in this area. Here are the 2 vessels in question, Safe Sea Vinicius, which was struck by an unknown projectile during a ship-to-ship transfer.
and here's the problem also. If we end up going into the Gulf and we start escorting ships out, and a ship still gets hit while we're escorting ships out, that's going to be a bad day, just so you know.
That ship actually came out from Iraq, anchored, and then Veyros came alongside. I'm not sure which ship was transferring into who, but both of them were hit. That was about 5 nautical miles south of Al-Bab.
Did you really say this? Hegseth, you know the guy from Fox News, on the Straits, the only thing preventing traffic is Iran's attacks. You think? You think? I mean, it's not like low tide or anything, is it? You think it's the attacks? No kidding.
Basra, and then Source Blessing was at anchor struck by an unknown projectile. Here's our latest data on Strait of Hormuz passages. Again, on average, about 138 ships typically pass. Well, we were down to 1 on March 11th after peaking at 7 on 10 March, but we are getting nothing through the strait. That what we are seeing coming through is some Iranian vessels, which I can't understand why. Again, if you're targeting Iran, you haven't targeted those vessels. I talked about seizing those vessels as a strategy for the United States. Again, Iran is targeting, destroying, killing merchant mariners out in the Persian Gulf right now. You can do a takedown scenario of Iranian ships, and that would give at least some sort of mechanism to interdict their flow of oil coming out, and more importantly, potentially some leverage for hopefully some negotiation between the U.S., Israel, and Iran. So we're seeing the attacks, again, more attacks on the upper region of the Persian Gulf right now. So that is those attacks that we just had here off of Iraq and Kuwait. We're still seeing attacks in and around the Strait of Hormuz, and the jamming is just getting to ridiculous levels here, particularly just inside and outside the Strait of Hormuz. So a new feature on the JITMIC report is a consolidated list of confirmed maritime security incidents going back to 1 March. This actually takes up 3 pages now of incidents that have taken place. Again, I'll have a link to the JITMIC advisories. It's under the UK MTO. Feel free to download it, take a look at it. I wait for this report to come out before I put my video together for you for the day. So I went to G Captain Lloyd's list for the latest stories just to give you a quick recap for today. Iran's shadow fleet disrupted by Middle East war. At least 6 empty shadow fleet tankers are inbound to the Persian Gulf. That's what they call the Middle East Gulf. Have diverted. 2 tankers are seeking new employment, sailing in directions of transshipment hubs inside the Persian Gulf. Loadings continue. At least 16 tankers, 3.4 million deadweight tons, likely positioned for Iran loading. So Iran is loading oil. This is the thing that, again, I think is really important. They don't want to close the strait. This is why that issue about mining is so important here. I don't think Iran wants to close the strait because they need to keep moving their oil. And obviously, it's of supreme importance to Iran to move that oil. We have this story from Greg Miller, Middle East.
Yeah, exactly. They're not. That's what I don't think people understand. It's not closed. It's the fact that they're blowing up ships that aren't theirs.
Very large crude carrier indexes are still near peak, but Atlantic rates are sinking. So the Baltic Exchange, Middle East Gulf indexes are down only 5 to 7%, while the Atlantic Basin are down 35 to 39%. VLCC.
Let me turn the phones on because I don't know how to be here. Forgot to turn the phones on. Phones are on, Sonia.
His number 856-600-4654. Sage Outcast.
All right.
Stocks reached multi-decade or all-time high on March 2nd. Since then, Frontline is down 15%, Oceanus 13%, DHD 9%, and International Seaways 8%. There's more downside than upside risk to VLCC rates, and listed companies are likely to stick to low-risk loading ports. So a little bit of insight there. We talked to Jay Mintzmeyer last week about stocks. Here's a good follow-on by Greg Miller. And then this story by Rob Wilmington, up to 140 container ships at risk in the Gulf as indiscriminate attacks spread. The escalating conflict in the Persian Gulf has resulted in attacks on 3 container ships in recent days. Lloyd's List intelligent data shows 56 containers from the top 10 global carriers currently stuck in the region, with analysts estimating the total number of trapped vessels across all operators close to 140 ships. Then we have these stories from GCaptain, 2 interesting different national perspectives. This one talks about how India sources say Iran to allow India flag tankers through Hormuz as the first tanker arrives. Obviously, India getting oil from the Strait of Hormuz is absolutely essential. It's a conduit for 40% of India's crude oil imports, so allowing Indian tankers in is going to be key. But then you have this story from Norway. Norway bars its ships from Hormuz as attack on merchant vessels escalate. Now, the Norwegian Maritime Authority is trying to prevent any attacks upon its ships, but meanwhile, at the same time, we have European Union vessels escorting vessels through the Bab el-Mandab. Cheers. There hasn't been any attacks by the Houthis against shipping, but we know a French squadron led by the carrier Charles de Gaulle is en route to the region. I want to deal with 3 stories now that really encapsulate how I think the U.S. is fumbling their handling of global shipping.
Okay, let's hear.
Listen, when the U.S. initiated its strikes, everybody in the shipping industry realized what was going to happen. They knew. I mean, I'm not a genius. I'm not.
Yes. 100% we all knew, okay, it's on.
I'm not an expert. I'm not a genius. I just know a lot of people. I read a lot. I'm pretty well informed on everything. I'm not the expert on everything, and I don't know everything. But I could have told you that if you launch an attack at Iran and you maintain that level of attack and come out and say it's going to be 4 weeks, shipping's going to lock down. I mean,
100%. I mean, that's you don't have to be a logistics specialist. Even if you can solve the solution with crayons like I can. I know I'm superior at that, but
there was not enough insurance in place to allow this to happen. But more importantly, there should have been a mechanism in place to pull in the ship operators, the insurance firms, to assure them, listen, this is what we're going to do to ensure safety, to keep the flow of goods moving. And
yeah, my opinion, what should have happened, how this first should have happened is we should have said, hey, we're going to do exercises with Saudi Arabia. And we should have moved ships into that area and under the presumption of doing exercises. I know. Then what we should have did was the minute we did start the bomb, if you are in favor of that, it doesn't matter if you are or if you're not, we should have basically then escorted the ships that were in the port out of the port and not locked it all down. I mean, that should have been, that show of force should have been done immensely. Now, the only way you're going to stop, in my opinion, the only way you're going to stop further actions from Iran is to put boots on the ground. That's it. Besides that, until you decide that they've won the war, to be honestly, Iran will win this war. If your goal was to turn Iran good, you're not going to do that unless you put boots on the ground. And they're just going to keep hitting ships, which is they understand what that does. Yeah, I mean, you have Russia basically saying, hey, we're going to go ahead and jack the prices up for natural gas, or they're going to basically embargo natural gas to Europe, which is then going to put an even higher strain on our natural gas because our natural gas is going to be exported to the highest bidder. So even when Russia basically goes and says, hey, we're going to embargo natural gas, we are a major exporter of natural gas. But we compete with those exports. Me and you, when it comes to our electric bills, compete with other countries if we export our natural gas.
Whole video up above here that we talked about that it's not just oil, it's fertilizer, it's helium, and there's a whole range of commodities that come out. But these 3 stories indicate to me that, man, the administration does not know how to handle global shipping. Let me be clear. There is no administration that I've seen in the past 30 years that I've been involved in shipping that knows how to deal with shipping. They
That's true.
Really don't.
I agree with that.
But this is an example here.
I don't think they know how to handle domestic shipping.
Of how it's kind of falling apart. First, this story from Bloomberg, U.S. Hormuz escorts may start by the end of the month. This is according to Energy Secretary Chris Wright. Now, Secretary Wright posted something yesterday that the U.S. was escorting a tanker through the Strait of Hormuz, and then he yanked that. Now he's saying it may be the end of the month before we do this. Okay. The U.S. has initiated this operation without sufficient forces in place to do both offensive and defensive operations. What do I mean? They have enough forces to initiate the offensive. They are thinking sea power, strike from the sea. They've got naval forces to accomplish this. They have air forces to complement it. What they don't have is enough forces to go into the Gulf and provide escorts both on surface and in the air. That is a flaw. That is a fundamental flaw because I guess nobody thought of that. I don't know. Or they didn't think it was enough of an issue to devote resources to do that. To me, that is an error. It's an error that is should not have happened. It's an unforced error on the part of the United States. And again, don't ask me this. I'm a YouTube guy. Hi, YouTube here. I teach college. You know, don't come ask me. You have a maritime administrator, newly appointed, Steve Carmel, Captain Steve Carmel. Dude is a master mariner. He was a VP for a major shipping firm, president for another shipping firm, well-versed in shipping. Go talk to him. Or go over to the Federal Maritime Commission. You just appointed a new commissioner, Laura DeBello, who she knows shipping. She's got an entire staff there that knows international shipping. Literally, 2 people. They're there in DC. Call them. Bring them into your office and talk to them. And if not them, I will give you a list of people involved in shipping, corporate shipping guys.
I just don't think they talk to these people. I don't think the administration goes and has discussion with the people in the know. What do you think about that, Pete?
And as the world is seeing, they are exercising sheer desperation in the Straits of Hormuz. Something we're dealing with. We have been dealing with it, and don't need to worry about it.
No need to worry about it. We're good.
And as the
I can't believe he said that out loud. Sheer desperation. Well, what are they doing? We're bombing them, and they're bombing back. I mean, that's desperate stuff right there. What are we doing about it? We're dealing with it. You don't need to worry about it. Okay.
Shipping women, you name it. There's a list of them I can give you. But the next one here kind of demonstrates another issue. U.S. to release 172 million strategic petroleum reserve barrels as new attacks drive oil higher. So it's releasing 172 million out of a record 400 million coordinated stock draw by the International Energy Agency and its member nations. So this is not just the United States, but 400 million barrels coming out of stocks to meet the shortfall that's coming out of the Persian Gulf region. Now,
here's the problem. We don't have a shortage of oil. We have a shortage of being able to ship oil.
Okay, hang on a second. Let's be clear. As I talked to you about before, oil is not coming out of the Persian Gulf and heading right into a refinery. There is a coordinated element there. There are stockpiles, both afloat and ashore. It goes through. So what we're doing right now is draining down those stockpiles. And the influx of oil into the system is good. Don't get me wrong. People are going to take advantage of this. But what we really need to do is reopen the Persian Gulf. We cannot keep the Persian Gulf shut and close off 20 million barrels per day for a month. That's 600 million barrels. You're talking about, you're releasing 400 million barrels. As I mentioned to you before, there's about another 100 million barrels that's afloat off Singapore and Malaysia. There's probably about 1 billion barrels of oil afloat at any given time around in the world. Plus you have shoreside stocks and everything. This is a short-term issue. But if you're talking about not even starting convoy operations until the end of the month, well, then we have another problem. Then we have this story by Richard Mead over at Lloyd's List. Naval escorts would cap tanker transits at under 10% of normal volume. So despite public statements from the U.S. and European leaders, no escort system has been launched, and political, logistical, and security hurdles continue to stall any deployment. Again, I'm not sure what's being done. We listened to General Kane's statement 2 days ago. It sounds like nothing has really been done to get this going. Any protection scheme for Hormuz transit is unlikely to begin until additional U.S. Navy destroyers arrive or sail to the region. Convoy system would initially be focused on outbound transits to relieve the Middle East exports, though how the U.S. and or countries would prioritize transits is unclear.
I don't think they thought this through. I just don't think they thought it through.
Iran's asymmetric threat, mines, drones, fast attack craft, remain the key risk, with even minimal mine laying capability of halting all traffic, complicating any reopening of the strait. I think Richard aptly summarizes that. Plus, if you do a convoy operation, you are not going to escort 135 ships out in one time. You're going to bring out some high priority vessels. You're going to get down to a trickle. As he says, maybe 10% of the volume is going to come out under escort. Now, maybe you won't need to escort some of them, Russian, Indian, who knows? Maybe the Iranians don't attack. But no matter what, you got to start this now. And it should have been planned for the day the attack happened. There should have been planned, hey, starting Monday, here's what we're going to initiate for convoy operations. At the very least, United States, get the 5 U.S. ships that are in the Persian Gulf stuck out. You have 5 ships that are stuck in there. You realize that, right? Crews are on there. They're exposed to danger. You have told them through a maritime advisory, avoid the area if possible. They can't. They're there. And then you've told them to stay 30 nautical miles away from any warship. That's, again, you are sending mixed messages out. And then the last one is this story, which I knew was coming. It was only a matter of time. When you create consternation in shipping, someone is going to go to the Jones Act bat signal light and set it off.
Of course. Of course. The Jones Act is an act. We kind of have this with, we had it with NAFTA. So in domestic shipping, if a Mexican, or let's say a Canadian carrier brings a truckload of product down, they then have to empty that product off, and then they have to either go back empty, or they can only go pick up and go directly back. They can't travel within the United States and unload freight from city to city or state to state within the United States. That was NAFTA. Well, the Jones Act's kind of the same thing.
And here you go. U.S. considers easing Jones Act to tame spiraling fuel prices.
We don't have enough ships. We don't have ships to tame it. It wouldn't tame it.
The Trump administration plans to waive a century-old maritime law that requires American ships to be used to transport goods between U.S. ports as it seeks to blunt surging oil and gasoline prices.
We don't have a problem with that. We don't have that's not the problem right now.
The 30-day exemption, which is still being developed, is set to apply broadly to vessels moving oil, gasoline, diesel, liquefied
Yeah, pretty much I'm Shadow Man, which is fine. I'm cool.
natural gas, and fertilizer among U.S. ports. That would enable generally cheaper foreign tankers to move these goods, including Gulf Coast oil, to refineries on the U.S. East Coast and fuel from the region to more populous areas. According to White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt, quote, in the interest of national defense, the White House is considering waiving the Jones Act for a limited period of time to ensure vital energy products and agricultural necessities are flowing freely to U.S. ports. This action has not been finalized. All right. First off, the persons who's going to be screaming about this most are the oil and fertilizer companies who see an opportunity to make I'm going to use a word here, and I apologize, a shitload of money. Because they see this as a golden opportunity. They look for cracks to get into the U.S. industry at every moment. You know, I have come out and talked about the Jones Act a lot. I'm not going to talk about it in this video. I'll do a whole separate video on it probably tomorrow that talks about this. But if you're going to do this, seriously, bring in the pro and the anti group. Bring in those who advocate for it. Bring in those who oppose it. Bring in the operators. Bring in the shipping operators. Bring in Crowley Maritime. Bring in Liberty. Bring in those groups that provide the shipping. Because I'll tell you right now, what people mostly don't know is that Jones Act tankers are actually performing below the standard in terms of rates compared to international ships right now. Charter rates went through the roof for shipping. And one of the things that the Jones Act provides is dedicated service. Now, do we need some sort of Jones Act reform? 100%. Yes, agree, 100%. Do you need it in the midst of a crisis like this? This seems a little bit like smelling blood in the water to me. But bring in those groups, hey, and then bring in those who want the Jones Act repealed. Bring in the major oil firms, see what they say. Because to be clear, they will scream Jones Act reform because they smell money. If I can run a tanker from Texas to Florida a few times, that's much more profitable for me than to run from Texas all the way through the Panama Canal to Asia and back again on a single voyage when I can run multiple voyages at a much higher rate. Understand the economics of this.
Right, and that would take away from U.S. ships. That would take away from U.S. ships doing it.
I'm not saying we should not waive the Jones Act. I'm not saying we should waive the Jones Act. I'm saying before you do this, talk to people who know what the F they're talking about. And again, don't listen to me. There are experts out there. You have a maritime administrator. You have a Federal Maritime Commission. You have advocates who say, don't repeal this. You have advocates who say, repeal this. You have shipping companies that are involved in this. Plenty of people to talk to get an informed decision. Please don't do this because Secretary Wright screwed up something and posted something saying, hey, we're escorting tankers through. And now he's throwing spaghetti at the wall to try to figure out a way to get oil
spaghetti
and gas prices down. Because listen, this may get you a penny or two cheaper at the pump. What is causing diesel to go up $1.40 a gallon isn't this.
Correct.
It is what is.
It's not this. It's not this.
Happening in the Persian Gulf right now. That is the root cause for the problem. And unless you address it either by getting the war stopped and ocean traffic flowing or establishing some sort of security to get ships flowing, this is pennies on the dollar fix that you're trying to fix. You are plugging, one hole in the Titanic that is going down. You need to look at the larger problem, not this.
All right. I agree with that. Hang on. I'm going to put, is this headset today? How long ago did this happen? 72 minutes ago? Yeah, we got to hear this. I got to hear this. Hold still. This won't hurt a bit. Well, it might. It's Pete. It might. But I want to hear this. Hang on. Volume, speed.
We fly over the top of Iran and Tehran. Fighters
God.
and bombers all.
Wait. How did he start this? What are we doing here? All right. All right, boys and girls. I don't need a speech. I need to know what's going on. You think he's going to give it to us? Here we go. Tell me what you got. All right. Hit me.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'll start, as we often do here at the Department of War, with the bottom line up front.
Okay.
For the world to hear and the press to actually admit that the United States is decimating the radical Iranian regime's military in a way the world has never seen before.
I've never seen before. Never seen before. We are decimating the way the world has never seen before. What about World War I, World War II? Okay, they've seen it a couple times before. What about, like, Vietnam and stuff like that? Well, okay, fine. We've seen it before. Okay.
Never before has a modern, capable military, which Iran used to have, been so quickly destroyed and made combat ineffective.
Okay.
Devastated. We said it would not be a fair fight, and it has not been. As I stated during our first press conference on day 2,
Now, here's the problem, and let me know here. Here's the problem I have with this, okay? And it doesn't matter who this would be, right? Doesn't matter. It's not the administration. The way wars are fought today are not the way wars were fought in the past, right? And we're proving this with Ukraine. Ukraine is using drones to push back extremely hard against Russia. Who would have thought that? No one. No one would have thought Ukraine would have went on this long using drones. Their drone pilots are badass pilots. So the same thing that's now happening with Iran, and I'm not supporting Iran. I'm just telling you that the war is different. The drones that they have, if you can bomb away, bomb all kinds of stuff, but if they're still blowing up ships, that are causing our oil to spike and shipping to stop, we're not winning. We're fighting two different wars here.
10 short days ago.
Also, real quick, I'm going to pay some of the bills here. First bill I got to pay is TC Boggs. I demand an apology for all the incorrect, unfactual disinformation that you've put out that I've had to correct you on. You could just do a formal apology or a written apology either way. All right, next thing is search carriers. We're going to be covering that in a minute. Search carriers, if you are in freight brokering, logistics, insurance, trucking in any way, shape, or form, search carriers is badass, bro. It is a nice thing. I'm actually going to show it. I'm actually going to show it here in a second after we listen to Pete. But search carrier, you know what? I'm just going to do it now. Perfect example. We'll do this real quick. Search carrier, search carrier. Boop, boop, boop. If you're in trucking, basically what happens, like this is, here's what I'm going to do here. Let me copy this. Let me go back. I can go to search. I got this little search thing right here. I can put the DOT number in. Did I not? Oh, damn it. Did it not say right here? Bam. And then I can pull up this trucking company. Now, this trucking company, because here's the problem too, which we're going to talk a little bit about. This gives me a ton of information on this trucking company. This is a Tri-State Haulers. It gives me, you know, their address, their business address. It gives me, this is all public information, but it also gives me their inspection reports. It also gives me their crashes. Oh, he has a crash. And, oh, look at that. He had a crash. Huh. Where did he have a crash? I didn't know this. He had a crash. She'll even tell me where he had a crash at. He had a crash in, where the heck is that location? Boulevard in Texas. I don't, so he had one in Texas, Helena, Texas. He had a crash just a couple months ago. More than 26,000 pounds. It was the Peterbilt. He was pulling a van. And, tell me all kinds of stuff. So basically, they'll also tell me that this is not a safe drive. Here's the other problem, too. And we're going to talk a little bit about this. This is not really a safe driver, to be honest. He's kind of, he's getting worse and worse here. Anyways, that's search carriers. So Tuesday, I'm going to do a big thing on this on Tuesday. But if you are in any way, shape, or form want to pull up carriers or safety ratings, see if they are a good carrier, figure out who their insurance is, see who the primary owner of this is, like this one here, who that is. This is search carriers. This is fantastic information. All right. The other one I've got is Wix. Let me close this. I'm going to move this over here. Wix. If you're looking for factoring, reach out to me. Shoot me a text. My phone number's right there. You can text me at that number. Also, there'll be a link in the description if you're looking for factoring. Also, if you're looking for truck insurance, for open deck, and also compliance and open deck, you're definitely going to want to see the Tuesday show. But you can reach out to me either through Oversized Insurance or you can shoot me a text, and I'll hook you up with some open deck insurance and also take a look at your compliance and stuff like that. All right, Pete, now that we've paid some of the bills, what do we got?
The combination of the world's two most powerful air forces is unprecedented and unbeatable.
Unprecedented.
Between our Air Force and that of the Israelis, over 15,000 enemy targets have been struck. That's well over 1,000 a day. No other combination of countries in...
You know what's weird? We've struck 15,000 a day, and yet they just send one drone and they blow up one ship, and all of us are feeling the pain. That's pretty impressive. You see how wars changed? Kind of weird.
The world can do that. So today, as we speak, we fly over the top of Iran and Tehran. Fighters and bombers.
We fly over the top. Makes sense. Makes sense. Good.
All day, picking targets.
Good. Well, okay.
As they choose.
All right.
As our intelligence gets better and better and more refined. Looking up, the IRGC and Iranian regime sees only two things on the side of aircraft. The Stars and Stripes and the Star of David. The evil regime's worst nightmare.
I don't think they're looking at that, but...
Iran has no air defenses.
No.
Iran has no air force.
No.
Iran has no navy.
No.
Their missiles, their missile launchers and drones being destroyed or shot out of the sky.
Then how are they still sinking ships?
Their missile volume is down 90%. Their one-way attack drones yesterday, down 95%. And as the world is seeing, they are exercising sheer desperation in the Straits of Hormuz. Something we're dealing with. We have been dealing with it, and don't need to worry about it.
Don't need to worry about it. You guys don't need to worry about those ships in Hormuz. Sail through, hammer down. Yeah, but they just blew up 4 in 2 days. Don't worry about it.
We're on plan to defeat, destroy, disable all.
This tells me they don't understand shipping. This right here tells me that they don't understand how shipping works.
All of their meaningful military capabilities at a pace the world has never seen before.
Perfect.
But it's not just that Iran doesn't have a functioning air force, or that their entire navy is at the bottom of the Persian Gulf, or their missile force is shrinking daily. Even more importantly, they also don't have the ability to build more. That's the most important component I'd like to emphasize today.
Okay.
Soon and very soon, all of Iran's defense companies will be destroyed. For example, as of 2 days ago, Iran's entire ballistic missile production capacity, every company that builds every component of those missiles, has been functionally defeated, destroyed.
Well, then we're done, right? Because that's all we were. That was the main purpose of being there, because they told us they had capabilities of building ballistic missiles. So if they're all destroyed, then we're done, right?
Destroyed. Buildings, complexes, and factory lines all across Iran destroyed. So we're shooting down and destroying what missiles they still have in stock, but more importantly, ensuring that they have no ability to make more. Their production lines, their military plants, their defense innovation centers defeated.
Well, then we're done there. We can leave, right? Is that crazy? I'm crazy, right? Like, the purpose we went there was they were going to attack us first, and they had ballistic missiles. Well, they don't anymore. They're all gone. Why is this still going on?
Iran's leadership is in no better shape. Desperate and hiding, they've gone underground, cowering. That's what rats do. We know the new so-called not-so-supreme leader.
Yeah, but rats have been around a lot longer than America. So that's kind of a bad reference, to be honest. I mean, that's kind of a bad reference.
Is wounded and likely disfigured.
Yeah.
He put out a statement yesterday, a weak one, actually, but there was no voice and there was no video. It was a written statement. He called for unity. Apparently killing tens of thousands of protesters is his kind of unity. Iran has plenty of cameras and plenty of voice recorders. Why a written statement? I think you know why. His father, dead. He's scared, he's injured, he's on the run, and he lacks legitimacy. It's a mess for them. Who's in charge? Iran may not even know. With every passing hour, we know, and we know they know, that the military capabilities of their...
We know, and we know they know that we know, and they know we know that they know something.
Evil regime are crumbling. They can barely communicate, let alone coordinate. They're confused, and we know it. Our response? We will keep pressing. We will keep pushing, keep advancing. No quarter, no mercy for our enemies. Yet some in this crew, in the press, just can't stop. Allow me to make a few suggestions.
Okay.
People look up at the TV and they see banners, they see headlines. I used to be in that business. And I know that everything is written intentionally. For example, a banner or a headline, Mideast war intensifies, splashing on the screen the last couple of days, alongside visuals of civilian or energy targets that Iran has hit, because that's what they do.
Yes.
What should the banner read instead? How about Iran increasingly desperate? Because they are. They know it, and so do you. Admit it. Or more fake news from CNN. Reports that the Trump administration underestimated the Iran war's
Was that just a cut on a live video?
impact on the Strait of Hormuz. Patently ridiculous, of course. For decades, Iran has threatened shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. This is always what they do, hold the strait hostage.
Yes.
CNN doesn't think we thought of that. It's a fundamentally unserious report. The sooner David Ellison takes over that network, the
wait.
may not even know.
Okay.
With every passing hour, we know, and we know they know,
Yeah.
that the military capabilities of their...
I just want to know about shipping.
They can barely communicate, let alone coordinate. They're confused, and we know it. Our response? We will keep pressing. We will keep pushing, keep advancing. No quarter, no... Just can't stop. See headlines, a banner or a headline of center read instead. How about Iran increasingly... Or more fake news from CNN. Reports that the Trump administration underestimated the Iran war's impact on the Strait of Hormuz. Patently ridiculous, of course. For decades, Iran has threatened shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. This is always what they do, hold the strait hostage.
Yes.
CNN doesn't think we thought of that.
Well, did you?
It's a fundamentally unserious report. The sooner David Ellison takes over that network, the better. Another example.
Did you think of it? And if you did, how?
Of a fake headline that I saw yesterday. War widening. Here's a real headline for you for an actual patriotic press. How about Iran shrinking, going underground? You see, Iran's leaders are hiding in bunkers and moving into civilian areas.
That's one way to fight war.
The only thing that is widening is our advantage. Not to mention our Gulf partners stepping up even more, now going on the offense. and have always been with us on the defense with collective and integrated air defenses.
Yeah.
Our will, it is we're going up, they're going down.
Okay. Well, if we're just doing that, I'm good to go. I don't think he says anything that's. Is there anything that Kane says? What does Kane say? Because Kane's at least military.
Was on a combat mission, and again was not the result, as CENTCOM has said, was not the result of hostile or friendly fire. We're still treating this as an active rescue and
that's going to be the refueler jet that went down.
recovery operation. As CENTCOM announced this morning, 4 airmen have been recovered, and the Air Force and U.S. Central Command will provide updates as information becomes available. Please keep these brave airmen, their families, friends, and units in your thoughts in the coming hours and days. Our service members make an incredible sacrifice to go forward and do the things that the nation asks of them. It's a reminder of the true cost of the dedication and commitment of the Joint Force. We're also aware of a fire on board the USS Gerald R. Ford. We're thinking about the crew there who are injured in the fire. We believe and hope that everyone will be okay, and we're grateful for that. And for any further questions on that, we'd refer you
What caused that?
to NAVCENT or to the Navy. This morning, we enter the 13th day of Operation Epic Fury, and we continue to make progress towards our military objectives. As the Secretary said, today will be our heaviest day of kinetic fires across the operating area. CENTCOM continues to attack ballistic
But that last week was our
missile and drone capabilities so that they are no longer a threat to U.S. forces, our bases, or our partners. They're continuing to destroy the Iranian Navy to ensure freedom of navigation.
I thought the Navy was already gone.
And this means going after Iran's mine laying capability and destroying their ability to attack commercial vessels. And we're targeting their defense industrial base so they cannot rebuild the capabilities that can harm America's interests or our partners in the future. As Admiral Cooper said in his update on Wednesday, Iranian combat power continues to decline as a result of the continued strikes, as the Secretary talked about. We've attacked over 6,000 targets, and our strike packages continue.
He just said 15,000 targets. These guys are
To launch every hour, and we've maintained an unprecedented
maybe 15,000 total. Maybe he means us. I don't know.
Of sorties up overhead of Iran. CENTCOM is now persistently over the enemy, and a result, we've seen a reduction in missile and one-way attack fires, as the Secretary said. In less than 2 weeks, we've rendered the Iranian Navy combat ineffective and continue to attack naval vessels, including all of their Soleimani-class warships, which were armed with anti-ship missiles and anti-aircraft weapons. We've made progress, but Iran still has the capability to harm friendly forces and commercial shipping, and our work on this effort continues. But I want to make something clear. The only thing preventing commercial traffic and flow through the straits right now, which there is some through the straits, is Iran. They are the belligerents here holding the straits closed, although there is some traffic moving through there. We've made it a priority to target Iran's mine-laying enterprise, their mine layers, the naval bases and depots, in addition to the missiles that could influence the straits, and CENTCOM continues to attack those efforts. And we continue to make progress on the industrial base to include factories, weapons, warehouses that are stored in, and we will continue to do so in the coming days, especially today. Now, as I often do, I want to share a little bit about our incredible joint force. Today, I'm going to talk about our incredible artillery force comprised of American.
Why didn't that come through? Let's call back. Hang on. Hang on. Hold the phone. I don't know why that didn't ring. He's not answering. Or she.
Your call has
Well, that didn't work. I don't know why that didn't come through. That's weird.
Soldiers and Marines who've been sinking ships, destroying depots, and launching Army tactical missile systems, or ATACMS, precision strike missiles, or PRISMs, and high-mobility rocket systems, or HIMARS. From outside Iran, our Army and Marine artillerymen are hitting sites that Iran relies on to project power beyond their borders and protect our deployed. In just the first 13 days of this operation, our artillery forces have made history. They fired the first precision strike missiles ever used in combat, reaching deep into enemy territory. They've used Army ATACMS to sink multiple ships, including a submarine, and they've done all of this with the precision and determination that comes from relentless training and trust in each other and in their weapon systems. Yesterday, I had the incredible honor and privilege of speaking with some of our young soldiers from the 3rd Battalion, 27th Field Artillery Regiment.
Do they take questions? Oh, they do take questions. Let's just hear the questions.
For people on both.
Chime in, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like it all. I want to emphasize what the chairman said about
Today will be our busiest day. This mission remains complex, dangerous, and difficult, and every service member has a family waiting for them to return home. And I want to thank all of them today, also working. Today, as I close, KC-135, very tough day. Thank you to our
Alexandra Ingersoll, One America News. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Strait of Hormuz and when it might be fully operational again? And how do we ensure our objective of denying Iran a nuclear weapon if they continue to align with our adversaries?
So I'll take it and chime in, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like at all. I want to emphasize what the chairman said about that. The only thing prohibiting transit in the Straits right now is Iran shooting at shipping. It is.
We know this. We know this.
Open for transit should Iran not do that. Now, there's a reason why we chose, as one of our primary objectives, destroy the Navy. We understood the ability to interdict shipping is something Iran has done for...
And mines. Obviously, they're going to be dropping mines, because he even said mines.
40 years. It's key terrain. They've used it as leverage. The world is seeing what they'll do to fight back in that context. And so we've heard them talk about taking various measures, and we're planning for all of them. So we have a plan for every option here. We're working with our interagency partners, and that's not a strait we're going to allow to remain contested or with a lack of flow of commercial goods. So
we got about 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, we're kind of screwed. Just so you guys know, at 3 weeks, if the strait is still not pumping out, ships, we are in trouble.
We're aware of that. We're laser focused on our military objectives, but also want to make sure our partners across this government.
I mean, we've already kind of felt the damage in regards to fuel. We're already going to feel the damage in regards to fertilizer. We're already going to feel the damage in regards to things like that. But you got about 3 weeks.
And understand we're working with you to make sure.
Yeah, I don't know who the speech is for. That's a good question.
That energy flows, and that's an important part. And the second question was on the nuclear capability. As we said from the beginning, their strategy shifted just from defense of their nuclear facilities to a conventional umbrella of so many missiles that no one would challenge their ability to the opportunity to defeat their nuclear capabilities. And it was growing by the day. So with Iran at its weakest moment, going at that ballistic missile capability creates an opportunity to ensure at any point in time that Iran give up their nuclear capabilities, or if need be, you prevent them from doing it, as the president has done once already with Operation Midnight Hammer, obliterating those capabilities. So the conventional
and the phones are on. Right, Sonia?
His number, 856-600-4654, Sage Outcast.
Thank you.
Side is a huge part at getting at denying nuclear capabilities, if you have anything you want to add.
Appreciate the question. I'm not going to comment on what we may or may not be thinking about any options that the Joint Force could be tasked to do in the future, whether it's on the nuke matter or anything else. Thank you.
But we have options.
The mines that are in the Strait of Hormuz and our ability to, obliterate them.
We retain a range of options to solve a whole variety of problems, and that is one set of options that we have, that we hold on to. So, thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth. I'm Mary Margaret with Daily Wire. Thank you both for the update. ABC News has updated its story from yesterday, clarifying that the FBI report on Iran possibly striking California was unverified. I just want to ask you, what impact did that original reporting have on the public, and does Iran even have the ability to conduct such a strike? And then just really quickly on another note, what role did Vice President Vance play in counseling the president on this conflict? Can you speak to some of the media reporting suggesting that there is a division there?
That reporting on California obviously had no impact on us. Also, we're used to bad reporting. We're used to ill-informed reporting. And so it doesn't change how we operate, but we engage with it to prove that it's not true, as CENTCOM has done so well. Ultimately, I look at the reports on a daily basis of threat. Our interagencies all over it. My partners across government are all over, looking for indications and warnings, keeping the American people safe. There's a lot of things Iran has said it can do for a long time, thankfully, including engaging their proxies and getting them involved in the fight, which they haven't been able to do. So we're watching that very closely. And as far as the vice president, he's an incredible leader of this team as well, alongside the president and Secretary of State. I can't say enough great stuff about this team, how it works together, how it provides options to the president, and the vice president every single day is a key voice in that, an indispensable voice in that, actually. In the middle there, red tie, yes.
Michael Gordon, Wall Street Journal. Iran is thought to have 440 kilograms of highly enriched uranium in at least 2 locations and several thousand kilograms of lower purity material. Can you conclude this mission successfully without physically taking control of that material, or are you counting on diplomatic negotiations to provide some measure of control leading to its removal? You've mentioned missiles, you've mentioned drones, military industry. You haven't stipulated that taking care of that material is a mission priority.
We've said from the beginning, deny Iran nuclear weapons as a core mission. We retain options across the spectrum to ensure that they never do. And President Trump has said that. And that's why this mission actually couldn't have been possible without Midnight Hammer, without what those B-2s did going across and obliterating those facilities. That set the condition for the opportunity to do what we're doing now. So the president's kept his eye focused on nuclear capabilities. And I will say we have a range of options, up to and including Iran deciding that they will give those up, which of course we would welcome. They weren't willing to do in negotiations. I would never tell this group or the world what we're willing to do or how far we're willing to go, but we have options for sure. Right next to him.
Me?
No, right there.
Right here, sir? Right here? I'll take it.
Quarter
sure.
zip right there. Yep. No, you. Yep.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Can you please provide some guidance? It's been 13 days in. Can you please provide some guidance, both of you, about the strike on the girls' school? There's been reporting that indicates the preliminary inquiry, even though it's ongoing, has determined that the airstrike was carried out by the United States. Given that there is another competing narrative that this was done intentionally, can you provide us with some guidance about whether this was the case? Secondly, we are also getting We had heard yesterday from Energy Secretary Wright that said that the U.S. Navy would not be ready until the end of the month to provide escorts through the Strait of Hormuz. Is that an accurate assessment? And if so, can you tell us why? Thank you.
Well, with an issue on your first topic, an issue of such seriousness, we're not going to let reporting lead us or force our hand into indicating what happened in a particular situation, because the truth matters. So I can report that CENTCOM has designated an investigating officer to complete a command investigation. The command investigation will take as long as necessary to address all the matters surrounding this incident. And the investigating officer is from outside CENTCOM and is a general officer. But I will note to this group and to the world, there's only one entity in this conflict between us and Iran that never targets civilians. Literally never target civilians. I look at the process that's used on dynamic strikes or on boat strikes and others. We have a very high fidelity process in that case. So
we're not saying you targeted.
Don't target. Iran does. We will investigate. We'll get to the truth, and we'll share it when we have it. Absolutely. And what was the second question?
About the Strait of Hormuz, about the Navy.
It's a tactically complex environment, and before I think we want to take anything through there at scale, we want to make sure that we do the work pursuant to our current military objectives to do that safely and smartly. So we're continuing to develop.
And we do a lot of work.
Yeah.
And like I said, it is dynamic, but this is, I think, almost by 20% the largest day of strikes. And as I said, our intelligence.
So it looks like by the end of the month, we might not be doing much to the end of the month when actually escorting ships through for shipping. When did we start this? That's bad, because we're 12 days in. That's not going to be good. Yeah, most likely we did that. A lot of the intel that was coming out was we used an old intel that listed that as a base when now it's a school. I don't think we did it on purpose.
Better and better, that feedback loop feeds itself. And as we refine those targets, it exponentially increases.
Not that it's any better that we used old intel, but either way, I'm just saying.
This is what we can hit and why, to include strategic things the world's talking about and looking at. And it's our job to have a plan for it, which we do.
I'm more looking at this in regards to what are they telling me about shipping?
To address it and ensure that the president has options. We've done that from the beginning in this department. He'll have options on that topic as well. Right here.
Thank you. That's right, sir.
An investigation is an investigation. That's what it is. It doesn't mean anything other than that. Yes.
Ryan Morgan with the Epic Times. Regarding today's busy day of strikes, last week you guys...
What are you, like 12?
...discussed the progress of the air campaign to gain air superiority and to transition from these standoff weapons launched at range to more overhead strikes. Can you now say that these strikes today are going to rely entirely on stand-in over-the-top weapons, or are standoff range weapons still in play?
It's a great question. I can say based on the report I read this morning at 0600, only 1% of the munitions we're using today are standoff munitions. The rest are over-the-top, the types of which we have a plethora, which was our goal from the beginning. You use standoff, which are more exquisite. You transition to a much larger magazine depth, ensuring that you're preserving all the capabilities you have and your options across the force. Absolutely.
Has Iran placed any mines since the war started? Is Iran placing new mines?
We've heard them talk about it, just like you've reported recklessly and wildly about it. But we have no clear evidence. We have no clear
How do you know she reported about
evidence of that.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Secretary, given everything the U.S. have accomplished in the last 24 hours, as of today, how do you define success in this military option? And has that definition changed from day one? And also regarding Iran government telling countries hosting U.S. American bases that they could face attacks, what is the Pentagon doing about that?
First question is, what is the objective?
How do you define success as of today?
Yeah, I mean, we define success, again, 13 days in, by reaching the military objectives that we've laid out. Launchers, missile launchers, defense industrial base, their Navy, the ability to project power in the naval sense, leading toward denying them to get a nuclear weapon. And we've got internal metrics that look at that we represent to the president, who then can decide how long he'd like to continue in pursuit of those military objectives. So that hasn't changed. There's a lot of things a lot of people talk about, what they want us to do, what we should do, what we should stay focused on. Again, I've addressed this before. I think it's worth saying again, mission creep or expansive missions or prolonged timelines or democracy building or nation building, you name it, has not been part of what President Trump wants us to be involved in. We're solving for something here, this particular mission set, but also recognizing this country's conditioned to previous leaders, whether it's George W. Bush or Barack Obama or Joe Biden, who had these expansive, nebulous mission sets that kept changing all the time, so the timeline kept moving, and we kept pouring more troops in and on the ground, and then pretty soon everyone wonders, like I did in Afghanistan in 2012, what's our mission here? I'm not clear what it is. We're taking the opposite approach here and saying we've defined these objectives, we're pursuing those objectives, the president has his hand on the throttle and will decide ultimately when they've been reached that serve the purposes of the United States of America, American interests first.
Yeah, right here.
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth. Polls show over 80% of Republicans support the president's military action in Iran, but there's some consternation in parts of the party, particularly from your fellow Fox News alum Tucker Carlson. He called the war disgusting and evil, and then said of unconditional surrender, which the president has called for, means foreign troops get to rape your wives and daughters. Have you heard these comments, and what's your reaction to them?
We're busy executing on behalf of great patriotic Americans with a clear mission that's 47 years overdue. And we're going to execute on that regardless of what people say about it. Yeah, right here.
You have said that the U.S. military has essentially aerial superiority, naval superiority over Iran, yet we're not escorting ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Why? How did you not plan for this?
We planned for it. We recognize it. because ultimately we want to do it sequentially in a way that makes the most sense for what we want to achieve and ensure that we're sending the right signals to the world when we do so. So when Chris Wright speaks or we speak, it's based on a full assessment of what we're up against, what we want to say to the world, how we want them to see and understand the conflict. It's like this whole idea of the war widening. That's what the press wants to make it look like it's widening and chaos. No, we're actually closing in on grabbing hold of and controlling what objectives we want to achieve and how we want to achieve them.
Well, the escorting civilian tanker ships out of the strait should have been one of the first things that you did, not the last thing.
It's called shaping operations and setting the conditions. But when you shape the environment, you don't always tell. I mean, foolish political leaders and foolish military leaders of the past will hang an exact deadline on it. Or here's exactly when we'll do what we're going to do. Or here's how long it's going to take us. And then if you meet that, maybe you meet it. But if you don't, you fail. And if you're far beyond, we know exactly what we're shaping and why. We're sending those signals working across the interagency. The Strait of Hormuz is something we've paid attention to from the beginning. And the American people can rest assured we will ensure that our interests are advanced. No doubt. Yeah, right there. Green jacket.
Mike Bress with the Washington Examiner. How many American casualties have there been, and where were the American service members when they were injured?
I mean, it's a bunch of return to duty. So we've had the large majority have gone in for some medical treatment and return to duty. We've had in Kuwait, Jordan, down across the southern flank a little bit, a variety of places, most from one-way attack strikes.
But I would clarify that. I think what we try to do here is clarify those numbers rather than saying KIA or WIA wounded. Be more clear about that because the overwhelming majority, almost 90%, thank God, are returned to duty. Minor injuries returned to duty, and so that number can look a certain way, and our job is to add some fidelity to it.
Absolutely.
Right here. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. David C. Real America's Voice. Can you share what types of munitions have been used on the attack?
All right, I'm good, because he's not going to talk about it anymore. It's almost over, and this is probably his last question. I'm good, because in regards to shipping, this is kind of what we're seeing, so I'm not really sure why they didn't plan on escorting any of these ships in or out of here before now. I don't know. It's wild. All right, shifting gears. He's not in here. Shifting gears. I'm going to go into logistics. Okay, so a couple things I wanted to talk about real quick. This is going to be logistics. So if you're not into logistics, trucking, stuff like that, you're good to go. I'm going to start recording this here. That way I can put this out separately. All right. So first thing I wanted to basically say in regards to shipping is we're still dealing, trucking is still dealing a lot with safety issues in trucking, right? Obviously. And more we're coming up with different aspects of things like people like Gord, who's killing trucking and things like that. We're coming up with a lot of these people that are coming out saying how we should be fixing trucking, how we should be fixing safety, what should we be doing, what the government should be doing, and things like that. The problem is, and I'm going to say this now, the problem is that I'm predicting the future right now. I'm giving you insight into the future if you are in trucking. So be advised, okay? Be advised. Although I think a lot of people think that we're just going to get rid of foreign drivers and non-domiciled CDL drivers, meaning drivers that basically they're not, born here American type stuff. They've got either green cards or other aspects of their license. I hear if you think that that's the only approach we're going to be taking in regards to making the road safer and better, you're wrong. All right. Now, room temperature IQ, no doubt. Talking about the plan has been for months. I think we have a plan to call in the strait. Yeah, either way. So basically, in regards to that, if you are in trucking, or I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and I kind of basically there are people that are in like a freight, different aspects of trucking, like freight task force and stuff like that. And I'm more speaking to people on LinkedIn now. This is more a LinkedIn show now than a YouTube show because most of you YouTube people are here for the other stuff. Well, now I'm kind of talking to the LinkedIn people. So if you are in trucking or logistics and stuff like that, the world's kind of changing. And I had a conversation with somebody yesterday that they were finding it very difficult for one of their carriers basically to find freight, right? And I've explained this that freight brokers are making it where it's harder and harder for you to get freight if you were to come in with your authority. If you're a new authority and you think you're just going to jump in and hit the load boards and find freight, that's not the case. That's not the case. So either with insurance or in regards to just freight brokers and things like that. And I want to kind of warn people, because if you're in trucking, this could be bad. So freight brokers are now being pushed to kind of go into compliance and pick safe drivers. And I've had conversations back in the Discord in regards to, the CSA scores, and all the CSA scores are completely broken and the whole system's completely broken. And then I've said, well, if you don't, and the CSA scores are how we measure out of service tickets. Like if a driver rolls into a scale house or gets pulled over by a roadside inspection, and they get placed out of service because their brakes aren't working properly, or they have a flat tire, or they have their blinkers not working, or things like that. That information gets posted where we can see that. And that's something where search carriers, which I could probably put search carriers back on the screen. Let me put search carriers back on the screen, because Pete, you got to go. Goodbye, Pete. And this is kind of where we see this information. So if I were to go down here and I go to identify, and this is tri-state haulers. And right here you can see that tri-state haulers is in the red. It's in the red here under driver, and it's in the red here under vehicle out of services, meaning they got tickets, and some of the tickets that they did, and we can pull this up where they got tickets. The tickets that they got was leaking or inflation less than 50% of maximum inflation pressure. They're tires. They got bad tires. So basically, he was running with a flat tire. Also, low pressure warning device missing, inoperative. Air brakes, air brake problem. Also, he got a front turn signal not working. Front turn signal not working. This was on a Peterbilt. So he got a bunch of tickets on his truck, and when he got pulled over. So the problem is that in regards to, you're basically looking at chances that you're going to get pulled over more, or you're going to be put out of service more, the worse you are as a carrier. Well, compliance is going to be a big factor nowadays, because freight brokers are starting to look more and more at compliance. Shippers are looking more and more at compliance, and they're basically just going to say, we're not using you. So it has nothing to do with you being a non-domiciled CDL driver. It has nothing to do solely on that. It's going to start to deal with factors like this. And the problem is that's bad. You know what? I'm going to say this till Tuesday, because I just got a text message and I have to duck out of here. I'll cover this Tuesday. I will be back Tuesday. Let me stop this. Let me do this. Thanks for stringing in. Sage out.
Hear the echoes in the night sky, where stars and headlights entwine. Tales of diesel and determination, living life beyond the white line.
On a desert stretch where silence roars, tires hum a solemn tune. Every journey writes its saga in the glow of the highway moon.
Sage outcast, port hat, where the big lows, big roads meet, talking miles, talking metro. Every rig, every route, every week, Sage outcast. From the yard to the last white line. If it's trucking and bones, deep hustle. You tune into that state of mind.
Keep the fire burning bright. While the world fades into night, through the miles, through the time, we ride on in the endless climb.
Sage, I'm sorry.